Hello crafty friends, it's Sharon Luska here from My Crafty Greetings, and we're going to do an old plus new July 2022 video. If you hit the hashtag in my title, you will see all the other videos that are out this month for this, and if you want to join in, add that hashtag to your video. We're going to be using these dies here, and these two sets are so similar. One's by Sizzix and the other is by Spellbinders. I'll have them listed below in the links, but what I was basically pointing out is the edges that they have outside of their cut line, and we're going to be using that to make a frame today. So the other point of the July video this month is things that have a side focal point. Or an off-center focal point. And we're going to be doing that today. And this is not an officially Scrappy Tails sanctioned video, but of course, you know I love my Scrappy stash, so I have to use it. Now, if you get a little bit ink smudge like I do, don't be afraid. Let it dry first, which was my mistake, number one. But number two, don't be afraid to get your little sand eraser out and give that a little fixin'. It doesn't have to be perfect. We put too much pressure on ourselves to make everything just so. And these are going to be sympathy cards today too, so I'm on a sympathy card kind of bender right now. I got a little low in my stash. So anyways, I love my packing foam, which is old, and I love to use magic marker to outline where I need to cut it, which you can't do with regular crafting foam, and it makes it so easy to add it to the back when it comes to complex shapes or windows. And of course, we're saving the planet by reusing this stuff and not putting it in the trash. So if you can think to ask your friends for packing foam sheets when they unpack their electronics or their goodies, or if they've made a move, or even stop into some of your retailers and ask them if you can have their garbage, that would be wonderful. Try Michael's, Home Goods, Home Sense if you're in Canada. Any kind of giftware store, they all will have it, and it sticks with ATG perfectly, or glue runner if that's what you've got, and also with Tombow Mono Multi glue, it works great. Now here's a trick. I have inked up my brushes. Now if your brushes are extra inky, this will work for you. If you take a little water with some glycerin mixed in, or the Distress refresher spray it on your brushes. You don't need to ink these babies unless you want to change the color, which I'm doing here. I'm going to a darker green. Okay, so these gorgeous leaves that I'm coloring up here are from the Scrappy Tails Tropical Assorted Leaves die set. Sabrina has a bunch of leaf die sets, and I've done a series of videos showing how to use them for sympathy cards. And yeah, I'm just working on a series right now. There's some videos that I'll put in the drop-down box for you that you can check out if you're looking for sympathy card ideas. So I'm just dusting on a few kind of smudges of dark green ink on this dark green cardstock, and this is just going to richen up the look. It just helps give it kind of a suede look. You can see what it looked like before ink blending and after. You can just see how it darkens it up a bit. So I also have this Thinking of You sentiment die. Thinking of You is a great sentiment for sympathy. Don't forget this one, because it can universally work for so many different card reasons. And this is a great die. It's only a couple bucks. I will also link it down below, and you can easily bubble cut it. So I've got all my foam tape on here. I've got my base of pattern paper, although it's not very patterned. It's just kind of a uniform gray, but it did come out of a paper pad. And I'm just putting Tombow Mono Multi on the back of my packing foam sheets there. And I'm just going to drop that down and set it into place. And I do like using that glue because it does give it a little slide if you're matching something up. So I'm going to lay out my leaves here in a dry kind of fit, and I always kind of do this first so I can get an idea of where I want things before I start placing them. Now, Jennifer McGuire does take pictures of hers, or you can use some sticky kind of matte, or you can also use, press and seal if you want to keep the arrangement specific. But I find with this kind of an arrangement of leaves, it's pretty easy to remember what needs to go where. And so I'm just going to put some glue on them and place them in. You don't need to make sure that every little bit's glued down, as long as you've got most of them, and only put like dots near the end of all those little kind of pieces. You'll have no problem sticking them down. So these last three though, I'm going to pinch the two together and glue them, and then I'll glue the other ones on top. And once I have them as a cluster, I'm going to pick them up and add some foam behind them. foam tape specifically. So there you go, foam tape. And I'm only putting it on the section that's going to hit the frame and then the section that's going to drop behind into the window. And that's going to give it kind of a bent in dimension, as though it's kind of coming from the inside of the card and spilling out the front of the card. So I think that arrangement's pretty good, but I've added 3 little flowers, and this is from the last release. It's an older release, or the release that we just had. It was like a floral release from Scrappy Tails. I love these flowers. It cuts out a ton of them all at once, and they're so easy to use. So I've got my diamond dots out again. If you ever see these on sale at, I think they sell them at Hobby Lobby in the States. I can never remember that because we don't have them here in Canada. But when I am at Hobby Lobby in the States, I grab them like crazy. And apparently Biddy Penny picked up a ton of them for like 50 cents a jar. These are fabulous for cards. They're just tiny. They're easy to place though. I've got my sticky Q-tip pen here that I do all my placement with. And yeah, I like that because I tend to lose these things on my desk. I don't know if you're a tidy crafter where you can have one of something and always find it, or whether you're like me where you have 10 of something and can rarely find a single one. But yeah, I use that to place everything down. And that's my first card here. Now we're going to have a second card that I'm going to pull together. And I think that turned out pretty well. You'll notice in the photos though, that I actually dropped down the sentiment. I started not liking where I placed it. So I very gently popped it up and just dropped it down onto the leaves. I just gave it some more breathing space there. Isn't that leaf cluster gorgeous? I just love that. In the drop down box, if you're interested in it, the second card is also going to use these leaves. Okay, so pet bereavement. That's another important card to have, especially with so many people having pets these days and lots of people having only pets, not children, which is the category that I'm in, where your pets can be your babies. And I think most people these days are very, very attached to their pets. So if you want to be a kind friend, a pet bereavement card is such a wonderful, wonderful, thoughtful gesture. So I have a stamp here that I've already stamped out on a strip of scrap paper, and it's So Sorry for Your Loss. I love this stamp set. Have not been able to find it anywhere. If I can, or if I can ever convince somebody to make a stamp set that looks like this, so that we can, have it available. It is a great sentiment for exactly this style of card. But you may be able to cut your word stamps apart, or you may have word stamps that you can stack to do something like this. So I'm taking some of my little sticky strips here and just adding a little bit of holographic paper detail. And you can see that I use that with the little paw print that I stacked there. That paw is actually a punch that I used. And I think there's a couple dies out there that are like that too, available at scrapbook.com. Now this is just Post-it tape, or Posty tape as Tina Smith calls it. And I'm just going to be cordoning a portion off here. And then I'm getting out these absolutely fantastic little blender brushes. They're available on Amazon. They're not expensive at all. And I got them and they're fantastic. And even when my fingers are swollen, they still haven't settled down from the allergic reaction that I had. Even though they're swollen, I'm very easily fitting my fingers into them. I don't know if you have big fingers. I have big hands because I'm a rather tall person. And sometimes it's hard to fit my fingers into some of the little things that they do for women crafters. So, but if you want something that's a little bit bigger, or something that doesn't flake off and break apart like your the foam ones do, these little finger blenders are fantastic, and they're all in rainbow color. And you can I recommend getting the double set so that you have every color kind of covered. And then they just work fantastic to blend in. And you can see here we're blending in a little bit of a rainbow. I will list the colors that I use here shortly. And you just want to blend these out. You don't have to blend them all the way across the paper, just kind of in the center of your panel. And we're just doing a rough kind of rainbow look. You don't need to worry about it being perfect, because that is not going to be the focal point. We're going to put something else on here as the focal point, and you'll see in a minute that it covers up any kind of little mistakes or anything that you may have. And I tried to keep it light too by just knocking off some of the extra stuff. So here's the tip. When you take these, give them a twist when you stick them in. People have said that the bristles have bent on them. If you take them and twist them as you're putting them in, it just pops the bristles into that little hole. So just remember to do that. Twist, twist, and then move forward. I love this reveal. And we're gonna add some detail to this with these dies here. So I grabbed a pot, and the pot is actually from the lemon tree that I used, but you can use any pot that you have, or you can just cut a little kind of funky shape and add a rim to it. That'll work too. These leaves are included in the Assorted Leaves Tropical Die Set. And you can see how nicely they make a little house plant. That's what we're going to be doing. So I changed my mind and decided I left too big a white rim around the side of this. So I'm just going to trim a 1/4 inch off. And then once I center it over the 5x7 white card base, it's going to fix my little problem there. And as I'm assembling this here, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you will click that subscribe button if you haven't, so that you can find me again and enjoy all the shenanigans that I get up to. I like to show you lots of different things and lots of different ways of doing things and using your supplies. If you could leave me a comment and a thumbs up, that would really help with the algorithm. And I do have to say, I'm sorry I haven't been getting back to my comments lately. I've been going through a bit of a being down in the dumps. It's been a rough spring this year with trying to get through therapy for my back, and I've had some really kind of tough challenges with that, and it's just made it hard. I think menopause is not helping me. I just turned 50. So unfortunately, I don't have my mom to give me some advice on exactly what the hell's going on. But anyways, I'm going to pop some foam tape on this little piece here, just the bottom leaves, and then we're going to bridge one of those heart-shaped leaves over top of it. Now the other thing too is do click the hashtag and check out my teammates who are also doing this old plus new. We're all using old supplies and new supplies, but trying to also show some different kind of techniques and card making styles that might help everybody with their card making process. So animals, because this is a pet bereavement card. This is a great set because it gives you a number of animals. So here it is with the kitty cat, and then there's also this little dog, and there's another little doggy too. So you can use whatever you want for this. If you have any kind of pet die cuts, see what fits under the plant shapes that you can make, and or even if you have like a little tree that you can put up the side and put a pet under it. Now I love these banner punches. I see them all over. They all look different. This is an old Stampin' Up one, but this is a great and easy way to use it, but I do find sometimes I get a little fussy about lining them up. And I dingled my corner, but I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm going to take just a tiny bit more off now that I've got this all done. And I don't know if you do that yourself, or you kind of eyeball your card right before you finish up, but I do that and I look at it and go, oh, this is what I need to do. And I change things midstream, and I want to start leaving more of that in for you guys. Because I think that when you see things made here on YouTube, it looks as though we know exactly what we're doing. Most of us don't. I will admit that I am one of the crew that does things, changes my mind, redoes things, and I've done that twice or 3 times here in this video alone. So I'm going to stick that banner on, and I do make a habit of not really using paper for popping things up unless I'm thickening die cuts. But in this circumstance, I would like this banner to be firm. Paper, when you add lots and lots of layers, will add weight to your card, and that weight in your card can frequently pop you up into the next mailing category. And as well, we're not doing the nicest thing to trees. If you can use your paper for die cutting instead of cutting layers and layers and layers to pop up flat pieces, I prefer to use packing foam and keep that from going to the landfill than using up more paper than I need to. So personal preference, you do you. That's just how I do it. Occasionally I will use paper for things to pop them up, and the only reason I'm using it this time is I want it popped up very little. So just 2 layers of paper is all I needed to lift this off my card. So you can see that there's my finished card and how that turned out. I think that looks just lovely. I would love to get that in the mail, and I had to bling it. So, well, I wouldn't love to get it if I had lost a pet, but I would find it extremely comforting if the timing was appropriate. But I added a little tiny bit of bling there. Your choice if you want to do that. You can leave it as is. Thank you so much for joining me, and if you want to check out some of my other videos, that would be fantastic. Have an awesome day. Thanks. Bye.